Good morning. In Halacha Shaliach Tzibbur, which we're learning, there is a question: when does the job of the Shaliach Tzibbur begin? Should he be saying brachos, Yishtabach? Where does it begin? People feel very strongly about this point. It's a man of Beit Shemesh who it's almost like a mission to get people shuls to start earlier and start at the brachos, I believe. And in yeshivas, most yeshivas that I've seen, they start at Yishtabach Shimcha La'ad Malkeinu, and it's the question is a deeper question than what's practical or where do you start or what's the minhag. The question is that when the Shaliach Tzibbur goes up, a transition takes place. Meaning, when we're all davening by ourselves, that's Tefillas HaYachid. Once the Shaliach Tzibbur goes up and leads the congregation in prayer, so now we're talking about Tefillas HaTzibbur. We're not talking about Tefillah B'Tzibbur. Tefillah B'Tzibbur is a different thing. It has to do with Shemot Esrei. But we're talking about Tefillas HaTzibbur. The Tzibbur together is offering a Tefillah. The Tzibbur together could say, Baruch She'amar HaMevorach, and Kedusha, the Kaddish Shimcha Ba'olam. That's a Tefillas HaTzibbur. Where does the Tefillas HaTzibbur begin? You can't just make a Tefillas HaTzibbur out of nowhere. Where does it begin? So does it begin at the very beginning, in this case 6:45, where people are saying brachas and brachas haTorah and karbanos, whatever you're saying, is that where it is? Or does the Tzibbur come together at Yishtabach Shimcha Ad Malkeinu, and then on Shabbos Shoichinat Moroi B'Kadosh Shabbai? How does that work? So it's as much as there are advocates for beginning early, which actually we do. I just want to point out the Shulchan Aruch is almost mefurish. I say almost explicit that you start at Yishtabach. The Shaliach Tzibbur starts at Yishtabach because there's Hilchos Birchas HaShachar, and then Siman Nun Gimel is the halachas of Leirid Lifnei HaTeva, and that's the siman we've been learning here. It begins, Aleph, Omer Shaliach Tzibbur Yishtabach Ma'umad. That the Shaliach Tzibbur should say Yishtabach Ma'umad, meaning now he's been sitting, or if he's doing anything at all, he's not been standing there, and comes to Yishtabach, Omer Shaliach Tzibbur. This is the first time that the Shulchan Aruch talks about this idea, that a Shaliach Tzibbur goes up, and he says Yishtabach Ma'umad and leads everybody in the tefillah. So that's pretty clear from the Shulchan Aruch itself. And then if you look at the Torah says very clearly, you go up by Yishtabach. Yishtabach, now this is a little bit tricky, because the truth is, if that's correct, it's important to remember that Psukei de Zimra begins with Baruch She'amar and ends with Yishtabach. With Psukei de Zimra, Baruch Mahula Batishbachos ends with Yishtabach. It's like a beginning bracha and an after bracha for Psukei de Zimra. According to many Rishonim, if you just say the first one and the last one, just Baruch She'amar and Yishtabach, he actually made a bracha l'batala. You have to say some kind of something in between. The Mishnah Berurah says minimal is Ashrei, to say in between Baruch She'amar and Yishtabach. So I mention this because then it becomes like a little funny that the Shaliach Tzibbur should get up for Yishtabach, because that's a mitten derinin. What is it? Better just get up and say Baruch Hu. So the answer is, or Kaddish. So the answer is, you're supposed to be masmich the Kaddish. Mr. Berurah explains this. You're supposed to masmich the Kaddish to something, and the something in this case is Yishtabach, and that's why we start with Yishtabach, and that's what it's Mashra Shulchan Aruch. That's, by the way, what I looked and I see the Minchas Yitzchak says, and most of the contemporary poskim say that it's very clear that you start from Yishtabach. So why do we start earlier? Because we go in the shul, we've taken the minhag of the Gra. The Gra's in Meiser Rav, and he says, Shaliach Tzibbur Maschel mi Baruch She'amar, ve'ein oimrim mizmor shir chanukas habayis l'dav. So that's exactly what we do. We don't say mizmor shir, and if you look in the Berurah, here is a whole long reason why we don't say those psukim of mizmor shir. Certainly, why should we say any psukei de Zimra, psukim of Zimra, before we say the bracha? So you start with Baruch She'amar, and he says the Shaliach Tzibbur begins with Baruch She'amar, not with brachas, not with the Asher Yotzar, not with the karbanos. Starts with the brachas. V'lai sharp sugim b'tzidbur koidem tefillah zu, v'lai achar tefillah rak shir shel yom. And the only kind of psuke de zimra you say after Yishtabach is the shiur shel yom, which we say at the other end, at the end of davening. We'll explain that one day why that is. Why you say psuke de zimra here and then a little bit of psuke de zimra of shiur shel yom at the end. We actually amended this, and we go one step earlier than Baruch She'amar to Rabbi Yishmael Omer. Not because Rabbi Yishmael Omer is Tefillas HaTzibbur, it's really not Tefillas HaTzibbur. Rabbi Yishmael Omer is something that should be said privately. The only thing is, we want to say Kaddish. People want, mourners want to say a Kaddish to Rabbanan. And the only way to say Kaddish to Rabbanan, where it's not just saying Kaddish to Rabbanan, is by saying some Chazal. So we say Rabbi Yishmael Omer, we say that out loud just for the sake of that Kaddish to Rabbanan. We're not saying Rabbi Yishmael, we're saying Kaddish to Rabbanan, and therefore so that's maybe a lot of people do that, but that's the chap over here of starting with Rabbi Yishmael. But the din of Shaliach Tzibbur, according to the Berurah, goes with Baruch She'amar. According to the Mishnah of the Shulchan Aruch, goes with Yishtabach. And then, of course, everyone has different minhagim as how to do it, but it's hard to say that it's called Tefillas HaTzibbur before Yishtabach.